Hi, everyone. There we go. I did it. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Kelly. You may have been expecting Erin Sheldon. I'm Kelly Meisner. I'm covering for Erin. Erin is my near and dear friend. We both live in Ontario, Canada, and Erin has been kind of my rock and my person through all of our everything Angelman for our family. And she couldn't be here today, and she's really sad about that. She had an amazing story to tell you. Some of you may know who Erin Sheldon is, and she had an amazing story that she wanted to share with you about how she's helped find a way forward and care for herself instead of just caring for Maggie, her daughter, who is about to turn 21 on August 14th. So things have gotten really awesome for Erin, and she wanted to share about that, to give you some inspiration and to realize that in those moments when we really think we can't figure things out and manage to take care of ourselves, that there is hope and there is a way to do it. So I'm going to share a lot of her ideas and a lot of the things that she wanted to present to you today. And hopefully it will lead you somewhere. There are some copies of the relationship circle. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. If you don't want to have one at your table, we can pass them around easily. Otherwise, there is a QR code that you can grab in the slideshow that will help you along the way. So here you are, you're at the session for future planning for you and your child, and this is a case study for parents by a parent. So it's a little, my version of it is a little bit different than Erin's, but I'm really happy to be here with you today. I think the reason that Erin wanted me to step in for her today is because I am actually a volunteer director on the nonprofit board of Magic, which is actually Maggie's, it's Maggie's microboard. It's her extended relationship circle that has actually found a way to move forward and make sure Maggie lives her very best life. And this all came about in the early days of pandemic life and shutdown in March 2020. And I'm sure there's lots of us who are in this room and can feel that this resonates with you, because that was a really, really hard time. Anything that we had laid out for ourselves and for our loved ones really got upended with that pandemic. And it was a lot of learning for lots of us, and really a good reminder to make sure that we've got to do a lot of good planning, which we're really focused on our loved ones, but we also need to focus on ourselves. So this microboard formed for Maggie, and what the microboard actually does is it acts as its own not-for-profit entity. You don't need to have charity status to do this. And the microboard is filled with people, like board members, I'm one of them, who actually are familiar with Erin and Rob, Maggie's dad's, vision for Maggie, and then Maggie's vision for herself as well. So they've used lots of opportunities to try and get Maggie to communicate what she sees, what kind of life is the best life for her. And then if something happens to Rob or Erin, the microboard is there to step up and kind of take that place, and it doesn't fall on the shoulders of their other children, right? That's the whole idea, to kind of give you some peace of mind. So Erin has, during all of the pandemic stuff, was able to basically hit crisis spots and then regroup and kind of build themselves up. And it was really tricky to do, but now on the tail end of it, all of that, she's having an amazing life. So she wanted me to share some of the steps that really helped ground her and ground Rob into making sure they could figure this stuff out. So I'm going to show you a little quick picture of my daughter, Kate, who's waving at me in the audience now. Hi, Katie. Hi. Yep. So amazing. That's Katie. She's living her best life. We certainly, prior to the pandemic, thought we had everything really well figured out. In 2019, like really close to shutdown time, probably coronavirus was already out there. And this time we were traveling in Europe, and it took Kate on a transatlantic flight from Ontario, Canada, to, we saw the Normandy D-Day beaches, we went to Scotland, we went to Northern Ireland. People were amazing in Northern Ireland. Wow, like super accessible and kind. Oh, sorry, you're like, what are you looking at? Thanks for reminding me. Thanks, Corey. See, you can't do things by yourself. She's in my relationship circle for myself. Here you go. You got a vision now of what this looks like, not just on my screen. How do we get all of these amazing things? So like I said, we went on this awesome trip and I thought we've got everything figured out. Life is really good. Kate's in school at this time and having a great time. We did a really good job with her communication, building up her education supports and friendships, like authentic friendships. Kate went to her neighborhood school at the time, and that was a really big deal. And then pandemic hits and it's gone, like poof, gone, right? And there's no way that any of us could prepare for that. So Erin would totally agree that that was a hard time and it puts a lot of people into crisis situations. The pandemic is one of those as an example, but you've probably had others. You have had other things in your life that have really upended that. So while Kate's life became a little bit different at school, Kate, I'm just going to share a little bit about you. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you. When Kate's life became a little bit complicated with not being at school, we obviously had to kind of regroup. And certainly we feel like we've lost that relationship circle. That circle of support around us has actually shrunk a lot. Erin would say the same. That exactly same thing happened to them. And many of you are out there, either it's pandemic-wise or not, there's been moments in your life where you feel like you may have had a good plan and it's derailed, or maybe it's been really hard to find a plan. Our whole message, Erin and I would really like to share with you that the foundation of a good life, you've probably heard this lots of times, is to actually build your village of support. And so sometimes we think of what that's gotta look like. Erin and I would like to share some ideas of where else you can get the support, where other venues and what other opportunities will actually arise. For us, this was really important to do. Yeah, it was really important to do because we thought we had it all figured out, right, Katie? We totally thought we had it all figured out. We live in a big semi-attached house beside my sister, and her family lives right beside us. So that's really helpful, right? We've got built-in help. That's the way that all the services look at us. They're like, look at all your free help. You've got people that live right beside you. And then we have a small apartment in our living area as well, and that's where my partner Jeremy's parents lived. And last year in May of 2023, Jeremy's dad died suddenly while biking on a trail nearby, and he was Kate's number 3 person compared to Jeremy and I, and he lived with us and he died suddenly, and that just upended everything, right? And with all of that kind of change, you can't be really prepared for that and planning for that. And so during all of our grief and everything that we've tried to navigate through in the last year, we made sure that we spent some time in looking at planning and what that would look like so that Kate can live her best life, and Kate has a good solid foundation of what she knows home is, and that there's a village of support around her that's not just me, her dad, and her grandparents, and my sister, right? So that's what we were trying to do, is try and find a way, how can we possibly move forward? For us, this means that we're always asking for help, and it's not an easy thing to do. But once you find your place, once you find your people, you can stay there, and that'll help you move forward. So this model that we've got here, boom, yep, that one, is the reciprocal roles of all family members. Basically, there's been some fancy research done on the social, emotional development of how families actually survive. And it's been categorized into 2 different ways that we can look at this. So it breaks it down into these different areas or domains. There's caring about, and then there's caring for. So we do a lot of caring about and caring for. We do that heavily for our loved ones who live with significant disability. So when we mean caring about, we're looking at 3 different areas: affection and self-esteem. We are responsible for those things. The repository of knowledge, this one's even heavier when we're supporting families that live with disability, right? Like when we're thinking of ourselves, it's like when you go to bed at night and you're thinking, oh my gosh, if something happens to me, who can take on all the things that are all of medication, getting workers in place, all of the stuff that's in our brains, is who's going to take that over if something happens to one of us? And that's really, that repository of knowledge is really super important. And then of course, under caring about is one of the most important areas, which is the lifetime commitment we're making. And this is not just for people with disabilities. This is with everyone. When you are a parent, you're making a super long lifetime commitment that really matters to our kids, even as they're growing to be adults. And then the second category here is caring for. So that's like your regular areas of provider of the day-to-day care, the materials and the financial aspects that make all of this work, make this ship sail, the facilitator of inclusion and membership. Is anybody doing else that for you? Probably not, right? That's really hard to replace that role because we really see ourselves as we're the ones who need to do all of that, that there's no other option for someone to take that role on, someone to take that area on. And then of course, the advocate for support is a really important area because you're doing this day in and day out in your lives. So as parents and guardians of children or adults living with significant disability, we're responsible for all of these things. You're already doing all of this. It's really heavy work, and you can probably all agree that you're tired and it's exhausting and you want to do your very best. It's hard to keep going. What can we start to share and delegate? So are there things in this chart, different areas that you could, maybe there's one. You could pick one and think of somebody who could take this over for you. Like I'm actually thinking about the repository of knowledge. My sister who lives next door, who I haven't really involved in any of this, she might be a good candidate to start making like, I don't know, a Google Doc or a spreadsheet that would actually start to have all of Kate's medication and routines. Maybe what I need to do to help spread that repository of knowledge is start a little Facebook group that shares stuff about Kate's favorite things and daily routines, because that's something that's easy for me to do. I'm on social media anyways. Why not? Why not try and have people around me, and I'm looking for like maybe 100 people around me that are interested in us and interested in Kate's life. Maybe that's a spot where I could start to actually try and unpack some of that repository of knowledge so that I'm doling some of these roles out. And that's essentially what Erin had to do when things got really rough for them. So she made sure, she and Rob worked really hard to make sure that they weren't the only ones that were responsible for all 5 of these things. So when you're looking at those different areas, it's 6, not 5, sorry. Is it 7? Yes, it's 7. See? Corey, thank you. See? Relationship circle, don't do anything by yourself. Yeah. Vision, it's fun. Aging, fun, right? It's fun. We all can feel that. So think about it as there's someone in your circle who can take one of these areas on. Can we delegate any of these pieces out? Can you take it off your plate? It removes the risk of burning out. You're doing all of this. What can you do to reduce it? Because you really want to avoid that burnout situation. You got to set priorities. Where is the biggest gap? What area do you need the most help in? That it might be the lifetime commitment piece. That might be the spot you need the most amount of help in. Okay, so what kind of succession planning can you do, can you put in place right now to make sure that that's going to be effective for you and your loved one? Who already cares about your child? So when we're thinking about doling out the roles and the responsibilities for these 7 different areas, who cares about your child? Who already does that? They're the kind of people that you want to bring into your circle and kind of give them more responsibilities so that they can best support you. Who already cares for your child? So this might be like our family members that are helping us. Maybe they're hired support workers, maybe they're staff at school or staff in any kind of programming context. Whatever that looks like, who already cares for your child and how can you solidify that relationship? I don't know about you, but we've had people come and go so easily, and it breaks my heart every time we get attached to a carer, a support worker, and then they have to up and leave because life happens. It's really hard. So I feel like I bring them in and we get really close, and then all of a sudden they're gone and they've moved on, and that's really, really tricky. instead of getting, maybe my correction that I should have done, like the learning for me there is that maybe I shouldn't have gotten attached to those people without building a succession plan. Because I'm like, oh, this person looks great. They're young, they're fit, they're active, they can do all of these things, and we'll have them for a long time. And that doesn't turn out to be the case. So we need to think of what kinds of succession planning can we build in. Something that's really worked well for us is we've now got in Canada, we call them personal support workers, PSWs. Our PSW that supports Kate lives in the neighborhood. That is a big deal. We are rural outside of a major city. And so that's a big deal because people driving in and out, that's complicated for them. So she lives in our area, and then she has taken Kate into her family, and she's got young kids. And that's something that, Katie, you would totally agree about here. You love Jess's kids. And we've maximized something that brings Kate affection and self-esteem. We've maximized that by having the provider of some day-to-day care and facilitating of inclusion and membership and advocating for support, while Jess, our PSW, is basically training up her siblings and her extended family members that Kate is exposed to, get a chance to know all about Kate, and they will be in a better spot to help support us long term, because there's a built-in succession plan, and that's something that we really need to think about. Who can we invite to care even more? So that might be, how do we bring somebody I don't know, maybe a family member who's kind of on the outskirts of your life, maybe they live far away. How can we invite them in and get them to be more attached to us, be part of our relationship circle? Maybe it's somebody that you would say is a feels like family, and they live far away. Is there things that you can do to help set that up for success? Could they maybe understand the vision of what you need for your life and your child's life in order to be successful? Maybe they can actually provide you support instead of providing support to your loved one. It's not just about taking care of our loved ones. We need to take care of ourselves. So today, I want to share with you the Helen Sanderson and Associates Relationship Circle and tell you how this works. If you don't have one at your table, there's a QR code there. And the intention that Erin and I kind of thought of here is to try and map out your circle. And so usually when we present this kind of information, we're thinking about doing this, mapping out your circle for your loved one who lives with Angelman. Today, you got to think about you. Map out your circle. Who is in these rings? I'm going to explain what the rings are around it. So obviously, the person in the center with the heart, that's you. And then if you have a handout, you can flip the page over, and I put 2 copies on it. So you can do this for you and then your kiddo if you want. But right now, the priority is you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this actually works, because as caregivers and parents, we often need to remind ourselves that we don't need to clone ourselves. It feels like we do. It feels like there's nobody else who can do this job better than me. And that's a hard thing to accept, but it's not true, right? So we want to make sure that we can find a way to plan like this. There are more people out there to support us than we think. So the inside ring is the ring that's made up of people who are the closest to you. Makes sense, right? They're the closest. I'm a physics teacher, so I can't help but bring up the orbital model of planets and the solar system, right? So if that person in the middle is the sun, who's in orbit around you? Who's the closest? Who's Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars? Who are those people that are closest to you that you can easily rely on? They're the ones that keep saying, you love this expression, I know you love it as much as I do, let me know what I can do to help you, right? There's lots of that. Tell me, just give me a call, let me know what I can do to help you. Those are the people that we actually have to take them up on their offer. We actually have to say, okay, I've got an idea. I need you to make me this meal. I need you to get me out of the house so I can go for a walk. I need you to have a phone call with me or a FaceTime or whatever that looks like. The inside people are the ones in the inside ring are the ones that we can really rely on. They're the ones that are closest to us. And then the outside ring, does everyone have that QR code that needs it? I'll leave it for just a sec. The outside ring is the people who are interested, but not as close. They're the ones that we need to use that gravitational pull and pull them closer. So they're like the gas giants in the orbital model of what this looks like. And they're the ones that we need to see outside of the context that we usually see them in. So I'll give you examples of what that actually looks like. But these are our people that might be colleagues at work. They might be a neighbor that you just pass regularly, but you feel like you can't really talk to because your life is complicated and you're walking by and maybe you're getting your hair pulled at the same time, right? So these are the people that show interest, but need some help to come closer. And that means that we got to put out a little bit of effort, but the long-term play is totally worth it. You're going to look for ways to take those people that are in the outside ring and bring them closer. So that's the gravitational pull that I'm talking about. What can you do to draw them in? With kids, this is a bit easier because they got like birthday parties and all the like play dates that you can easily arrange, and it feels like you can do that part of the inclusion. But for ourselves, it's a bit different because you're used to putting yourself last. Right? We don't raise ourselves up to make ourselves a priority. And I know there's lots of stuff out there about self-care, but to do self-care effectively means you have to plan effectively because it's not going to work otherwise, especially when your world falls apart and the worst happens. You want to make sure that you've got some kind of vision and that that's outputted somewhere. Maybe you've got extended family members who might, that you maybe send updates regularly to, like through Facebook, or you text them. These people might not respond regularly, but those are the ones that you can still reach out to. They're on your outer circle, and they're the ones that you can try and pull in. You want to build these into your real life so that you can move them from the outer ring and into the inner one. And sometimes that means we actually have to put them on the calendar, which is hard. I feel like committing a couple weeks in advance is really hard for me to do because everything feels like it's all unknown. But sometimes that's the best way to make it work, is to put them in the calendar and stick to it. So for yourself, when you're looking at the relationship circle, maybe you've got the QR code and you can open it up on your phone and download it into an app that allows you to write some names on it really quickly. Maybe you've got a handout at your spot so you can actually use it. Maybe you're going to save it for later, but what I need you to do is really think about yourself, writing the names of everyone who matters to you and put the closest people into this, closest to your center. So they're going into the inside ring. So the closest family members don't necessarily have to be relatives. Your essential professionals, they're kind of lifting up your life, right? They're really functional. Our doctors, our therapists, I don't know, your hairdresser, that's somebody who keeps me feeling like I can function because I need to feel good about myself in some way. So are there people out there that we can try and pull them in? We want to move them forward, like towards the center. And then the names of people who are less close, obviously going on that outer ring. Maybe it's family you don't feel as close to. Maybe it's acquaintances with potential. Again, the neighbor down the street that's kind of engaged and cares, shows has evidence that they care. Maybe that's the person that you're bringing in. Work colleagues are a great example, and I feel this easily because I work in an environment that's very boisterous and exciting, and everybody's in it to win it for the 10 months a year that we're there. And then if I were to quit my job, or when we're gone, if we're separated in the summer, I really lose those teacher colleagues, those educational colleagues, right? So it's something that I can think of. There's people in my building that I work in that actually give a crap about my well-being, not just Kate's and my son's well-being. They care about all of us. So that's what we want to think about. Who are those people that are on that outer rim, that outer circle, the gas giants that can actually be pulled closer with a little bit of effort? And hopefully the effort's not too big, right? So you need to identify the people who you'd like to have move closer to you. Can you extend an invitation? Erin talks about how she feels that this is a fair statement to make about Maggie. Maggie's almost 21, and she is like an introvert, really, but with a side eye glance that makes you know she's like super paying attention and interested, but won't actually engage. So Erin feels like in order to find Maggie's people and to build that relationship circle, she has to extend a lot of invitations, because sometimes that's what we're doing. We're ruling out who's going to work and who's not going to work in our inner circle, right? That's sometimes we have to do that. Maybe you and your kid make friends really easily. Maybe you're super social and that you don't have to do this as many times, but think about what those extending an invitation looks like. I know this is hard because when we come home from a day of work and we get everybody to bed and it's like, it's time to have a relaxing moment, the last thing I want to do is think of going for a walk with a neighbor. But this builds community and builds relationships and really helps us support ourselves and take care of ourselves. So being intentional is super important. Spend time together and make sure it's authentic and do it for yourself, because seriously, it's without some kind of planning tool, it's going to be really tricky for you to do this for yourself. You've got a lot going on, you have lots of family members to support, and you really want to make sure that you've got a plan that fits for you. So those arrows are there, those red arrows, they're there to show how we move people in. That's that gravitational pull that I'm talking about. And sometimes it means we're going to have to carve out time and schedule it in. And then what you need to think about after that is how you could do the same thing for your child, your loved one who lives with Angelman syndrome. It wouldn't be a bad idea to get everybody in your family to do one for themselves. It's a really good way of thinking and finding out where gaps actually are in your life and in your relationships, and how you can help move people to the inner circle. So when we're looking at like doing this for our kids, some of the stuff that I have done, and Jeremy has done, my partner Jeremy has done, and Erin and Rob have done for Maggie, is to really take advantage of those young years when the kids are super accessible and interested. When you're going on a Costco trip, see if there's someone who wants to go with you. Maybe there's a friend from school, maybe there's a neighborhood kid, whatever that looks like. I don't know, people love Costco. Costco's fun, right? There's lots of fun stuff to get into, and it's nice for anybody to get out of the house. So those simple things that you can easily add one more person into the mix, you can give that a try. Who shows interest first to your kid? Can you invest maybe like, I don't know, $2, $3 an hour for a kiddo to come with you on any kind of outing to kind of support them and build the relationship and lay the foundation for connections? Extending an invitation to the kids who show interest is really hard sometimes, right? Because we feel like our vulnerable hearts are out there and we don't want to lose, we want to protect them. It's really, really tricky. But that means we have to schedule it and actually hold up our intentions there. We're doing a lot of work inviting by doing this, but this helps us to actually rule the ones out that aren't going to work. And that way, when you think of what your relationship circle looks like, when you think of yours and your child's, you're really thinking about the sustainability of this and how there's people out there that can actually support you. I certainly feel for myself, and I'm probably not alone in this, when we get a significant diagnosis, it's really lonely and isolating, and I've lost a lot of friends. I don't know why. I feel like I'm friendly and I'm fun. I don't get it, but it's hard when people step away from things that they're unsure of and that they don't know. And that means that we have to extend ourselves a little bit more, but the payoff is actually going to help you build a better life when you've got a succession plan that works. So using these tools are like really life-changing for people. And really, we just like the one-page profile, which is also a great tool from Helen Sanderson and Associates. This person-centered planning is amazing and will really be a game changer. When we first came across the idea of person-centered planning, we totally thought it was just for people who needed it. But when I look at the tools that are built into person-centered planning, I use them with my physics students at school. Like, what a great way for them to kind of communicate how they need something and how I can support them. Let's put it out there. Let's put our support needs out there and what we need to get in order to survive, because it's hard. Oops. Okay, so what we need you to do is consider inviting different people for different areas of your life. So when you look at that relationship circle, think about anybody that's in there, outside or in a ring, how we can get them really close, that gravitational pull towards us, and who can you slot beside each of those areas, the 7 areas that are there. Whose names can you put that aren't yours or your partner's, or maybe someone else who does a lot of caregiving for you? Whose names can you slot in there? That's really what we want to think about. Erin had one more thing she wanted me to share. Oh my gosh, I'm bang on time. This is really impressive. Okay, so this is linked. She thought that this would actually, we'd be able to share this with you, but it's, we know the presentations are gonna be available once they're done, and so this is actually a hyperlink to a worksheet that kind of breaks it down if you need that kind of help. The caring for, the friendship, now and then potentially in the future, and then the knowledge and the commitment. It kind of helps you filter it out a little bit. Erin's had a little bit more success with people understanding how to fill out a worksheet than to actually look at the overall areas. So that's something that you'll be able to use. It's a really great strategy to help support you, and definitely we've learned from life experience, and as many of you have, I'm sure, that sometimes life hits you really hard and you can't plan for all of the things. But if you can take care of yourself and make sure you're aware that you have people in your circle that can support you, then those are the ones that you can rely on. So please take a moment. I know it's hard when you're really busy, especially at a conference like this, but take a moment and think about how you can fill out that relationship circle and make a difference for yourself, because that's something that we really need to do for ourselves, is to take care of us. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate your time and attention. And feel free to come up and ask any questions about any of this. And Erin is happy. She'll be sharing the slideshow with ASF to get that forward so you can see anything that you need there, because she's got a lot of good references. Thanks so much.